We want to bring in Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs right now. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So the criticism, of course, surrounding the President Charlottesville comments, distracting, basically, and it feels like the CEOs are now no longer just able to stay on the sidelines. They have to come forward talking about social justice because of the pressure they're getting. Is this distracting from the administration's agenda?
Well, I think in some small part it certainly is, because it's dominating the media right now, and what we really need to be focusing on, what we need to be moving back to, is the tax reform package, the Obamacare issue, the budget issues, the basically Republican agenda, and this is something that we can do. I mean, we can do this anyway. I mean, and colleagues I talked to yesterday indicated they're with me that we can keep pressing forward and getting the agenda done. We're not going to let this distract us.
Congressman, you have pressed forward. You pushed through a repeal and replace bill that died in the Senate. And now you're going to be facing raising the debt ceiling, keeping the government open, putting together a budget, and then maybe tackling tax reform. Without a coherent, cohesive Senate on the Republican side working alongside those in the House, how can you ever get anything done?
Well, you've raised the fundamental problem that I see. That's why I've been saying that they really need to change their 60-vote rule, and let's just move to equal representation in the Senate. And I believe that the House needs to do the best possible legislation it can do, regardless of, we can't keep worrying about, well, will the Senate get this out? We just need to keep our word with the American people and get this stuff done, get it over to the Senate, and then let the American people join us in encouraging the Senate to pass this good legislation that I think the House can get out.
Congressman, do you think that, if you think about the health care debate, there seemed to be, the president obviously wanted a bill but wasn't very specific in the contents of the bill that he was seeking. The House and the Senate took fairly different approaches, and ultimately it couldn't get through the Senate, even with a 51-vote test. So I guess my question is given all the turmoil that seems to be occupying the White House, do you think the president will be able to provide sufficient leadership on tax reform to get a coherent bill from both the Senate and the House that can be actually enacted?
That's a great question, but my response is, yeah, I think so, because even though we had the examples of bills being passed in both houses on the health care issue, the one thing that everybody has talked about consistently, and I'm talking in closed-door meetings and in both houses, is getting a good tax reform package. And so that kind of unanimity, I think, is going to allow us to get something done. And the president is being much more specific on a tax package, and I think that's helpful. And so I think, yeah, I think we can get this done, and quite frankly, we have to get this done. This is going to be the catalyst to economic strength and recovery, and we all get it. We all understand that. And so I think that there's much more consensus on the tax reform package than you'll see that we're able to get done on the health care issue.
Congressman, are you expecting to have Democrats participate in this tax reform package, or are you expecting to do this through reconciliation and have just 50 votes?
Well, they're positioning it, or trying to position this, for reconciliation. But I have talked to people, and I do believe that we're going to see some Democrats in swing districts who understand the need for tax reform are going to come on to at least some portions of this, and it just depends on how we structure it. Is it going to be one big monolithic bill? Yeah. Or are we going to pass out a series of good tax reform packages that interlock with each other? And then I think you would see some Democratic participation. I want to get